Okay. Oh, that's scary. All right. So, just a couple of procedure notes. We're trying a new system tonight. So we're gonna appreciate not having anyone talking over each other. We're trying new buttons tonight. This should be interesting. We'll see how these work for all the process. A question was on how these buttons work. If you want to make a motion, you press your button that says motion. The second presses that button also. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, no.
oh, I thought you were gonna correct me on something. And then I have to remember which button I have to push to accept it. So this will be a challenge. So there may be some mix-ups tonight. We're also videotaping this. So this will be interesting as well. Julie,
Thank you, Madam President. When we make a motion or second, is that still verbally done, or do we just do it via this?
you push the button and I have to accept whoever I have to call on you. Okay, I think. Okay, we'll find out for sure. All right, having said that, everyone rise and join the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag.
United States of America. Nation of the from which it stands,
One
one
nation.
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let the record show that trustee Van Hefty is excused. He's got work tonight. Do we have anyone signed in to speak? Vicky? Is there any communication from board or staff? I just pushed the button. Oh, okay, wait a second. I guess, what did I do wrong? I did hit next.
Oh. Put that on there too.
There you go. And I just hit next?
Well,
I'm
she
pressing
gets to
it.
speak first. You gotta let her call on her.
Okay. Okay.
You push
But
the
I'm
button-
active.
you push the button to clear it and move to the next
All right.
person in line to speak.
Thank you.
I think everybody on the board got this correspondence from Cindy Sands, and it's regarding the block party that we approved last meeting. She had some concerns about, the party, and she gave me feedback that I think I was the only one that responded to her. So I just think she needs some kind of response, you know, she knows that we approved the block party, but she still has some concerns, so I don't think staff can take on this to get back to her and craft a response to them.
Cool.
Thank you.
Okay. Good. Anyone else? Questions or comments? All right, very good. You have the minutes of the March 26th meeting. What's your pleasure? Motion by trustee Baldwin,
So I will make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from March 26, 2024, as printed and circulated.
second by
I
trustee.
just don't wanna be nitpicky here, but on the recommended actions, it's the date's wrong on the recommended action.
Oh, I'm now.
Yeah.
It's wrong. Fair to vote. Motion for approve minutes for the March 26th meeting. Which ballot? You gotta push your recording.
Hit high,
It again.
or whatever.
There you go. Let the record show the motion's carried unanimously. Very good. All right, we have the minutes from the April 4th meeting. With pleasure. Oh, wait, I have to, do I have to hit something here to reset everybody? Ah, okay, all right. Okay, motion by trustee Lancaster,
Make a motion to approve the minutes from April 4th, as printed and circulated from Friday.
and a second by trustee Grantmeyer. All right. Any discussion? Vote ballot. Any buttons? There we go. You were gonna have a cheat sheet for me.
You can proceed. Trustee Baldwin, you're still.
Did you mean to hit abstain?
I wasn't at that meeting. I was on vacation.
Okay, very good. There we go. All right. Public comments. Craig Majeski.
Is this on already?
You think? No.
Is it?
Try to read it.
No, sir. There we go.
There you go.
All right. My name is Craig Majewski. I am one of the firefighters for Harrison. I just wanted to speak on the topics tonight, as far as the new proposal for the fire safety building. And really, I just wanted to kind of paint you guys a picture because I know you toured the facilities. I know you've seen kind of what we're getting to work with. But until you see kind of the beehive in action, you don't really get a full grasp on what can happen, especially at our station 70. So have any of you ever hosted a big family gathering? Now imagine everybody that is over at your house for Thanksgiving, let's say, is in the kitchen. And everyone's trying to cook, everyone's trying to make some part of the meal, right? But your sink isn't working, you don't have any soap, your hood vent isn't working for your oven. So the kitchen is hot, it's smelly, no one can wash their hands after touching the turkey. And then everyone goes and sits down at the table and has a meal together. A messy scene, everyone's kind of tripping over each other, we can't clean anything, can't wash anything. This is sometimes what it looks like at the end of a fire call when we come back to the station and we have to clean our hoses. We have our gear, we have ourselves that are covered in carcinogens and these cancer causing things. And we don't have the proper safety in the station for after these calls. The board has done a great job in supporting us as far as giving us the tools we need to do the job. But to go home to our families, I have to strip down in my garage, walk into my house and take a shower immediately before I can go and hug my kids. So this isn't just about a public safety building, but it's about the safety of the firefighters and first responders that answer these calls. So if you can, just take a picture when you guys are kind of going through this and looking through the recommendations that were made. I just ask you to kind of ponder on that a little bit. So not only are we able to serve our community, but you can serve the people, the lives of people that are serving the community as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else want to speak? No? Then we will move, there's no old business, so we move on to new business. And the first item on is the approval of RFP or an RFQ request for qualifications for the fire safety and public safety building. And Manager Heiser, I will let you take it from here.
Thank you, President Blackmer. At the regular meeting in March, the board had formal action to schedule this meeting and to have a draft RFP prepared for consideration for a new public safety building. So staff proceeded on that after that formal action and worked on it, and after digging into the issue and looking at a model request for proposals, it seemed to staff that we were not at a point as a community where we were ready to send out for proposals. So we didn't have some of the decisions made that a request for proposal should have. So your packet is a draft for you to view. that's got some highlighted issues that we haven't talked about yet as a community, or the board hasn't decided on yet, that should be decided for an RFP to go out. Instead, what staff is recommending tonight is a request for qualifications or an RFQ. We would seek firms to apply that have experience and expertise in this kind of a project that would guide the village through these decision points to help us reach the point where we know what kind of building we need to design and put a cost, an estimated cost toward for there to be a decision point for the board to consider. So there's also a draft RFQ for you in your packet.
A qualification statement.
Right. And so based on the action that was at the March 26th meeting, that's what staff is proposing the board consider tonight moving forward.
Any discussion, any questions?
This is the first step, and then what's the step after this then?
This is the first step. First step, and then we bring it forward, we choose a contractor who walks us through all of the brainstorming, all of the planning. And I would envision that we would have workshops like we did when we picked out the software system. So it'll be multiple meetings, and we'll have the contractor, the consultant, walk us through that process so we don't screw something up.
Like it.
Okay, I'm gonna be kind of persnickety here because we're using our buttons. So you have to press the button that says request. Okay, so trustee Brantmeyer.
The timeline here, you're talking 2 years from now till the building starts to get constructed.
That is what SEH stated in their specifications. The
We're
zoning
gonna get 20% onto this building. We wait another 2 years. I don't think it's aggressive enough. In my vote.
The whole point of that timeline, trustee Brad Brown, was just to bring to the attention of the board that there may be things that we can't control. Like how long it takes for the state to approve commercial grade plans.
What does the state typically do on commercial buildings? 2 months? 3 months?
2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
Trustee Baldwin.
Yeah, I'm just gonna kind of do a stream of consciousness here, but this facility study studied all of the buildings that we own. And for justifiable reasons, Fire Station 70 has risen to the top of the priority list. But I am also, based on the tour that I took, I have serious concerns about the Department of Public Works. We don't have representation from the employees here, but what I saw, they're in dire need of safety, health issues that we face out there, crowded conditions with big trucks. So, not to mention Fire Station 60 too. I mean, it seems like, and correct me if I'm wrong, somebody, but it looked like Fire Station 60 also has the same concerns with nowhere to decontaminate or take showers. So when I take a look at what this board has approved for the fire stations in the past, I don't think we've ever refused a request. So I would, while I understand the need to build a new fire station, it's like, well, what about Station 60 and decontamination and showers and separate facilities for those employees there? So I think that's important. The other is the DPW. So I understand the focus on this, but I don't want to forget about the other entities and the other employees that need safe and healthful places to work as well. And the other thing I'm just going to say too, and the reason that I'm in favor of an RFQ and to do this once and to do it right is because we have taxpayers that we're going to have to answer to. And this is not about votes, you guys. I'm just going to say that right now. I'm not here to get votes. I take this seriously, and I want to make sure that we're doing what's right for the entire community and not just one group of people. So, I would like to just see us get some, I'll say that for another time, but bottom line is I would just like to see us pay attention to all of the facility studies that were the information that came out and make sure that we're being fair to everybody. So I'm in favor of this RFQ so that we know what we're doing. And like I said, so that we do this right for now and for the future in the event that we get a full-time fire department. I just think we need to be planful and processful about that. And that doesn't mean dragging our feet. It just means being smarter.
Okay, trustee Lancaster.
Thank you.
So as far as the timeline goes, I do think that staff does need to look at some things. I understand there's some questions on utilities and things like that. As we get into some of this, I want to encourage staff from my standpoint here. I'm only one vote on the board, but my vote on the board here is let's see how we can be creative and walk and chew gum at the same time. Now, also with that being said, we know utility wise and things like that, there's also this, one of the potential parcels in question, if we do look at in Manitowoc area there. We know that it's more than just a public safety building potentially going there, right? We've had many discussions about other commercial development there. We've heard from our own assistant village manager / economic development too, that you need a shovel-ready site to do things. We've approved hotel studies and things like that to possibly also put a hotel in and stuff. You're going to need utilities to be able to accomplish any of that stuff. I see Chad shaking his head there. So we need to separate some of this as well. And that's why I encourage that we need to be able to chew gum and walk at the same time here and figure out the utilities. Because I think that would impact this timetable if the utilities are figured out. And also with that being said, I do realize that we need to do things and do it right. And that's for sure too. So this request for qualifications that staff has recommended. Definitely in favor of. I think this is an important step, and we just need to make sure that as we go through this, that there is very steady progression here. You know, I see here a couple of months that you're gonna bring a firm back. Deadline of May to submit proposals. Work with that firm for a couple of months. We shouldn't be having to design from scratch. There's lots of very good public safety buildings out there. And so there should be things that we have from to be able to have checkpoints that will come back to this board. And at each point, there's votes that take place, right? And feedback and things that can take place, but that these steps happen on a better timetable. And then just want to address a couple of comments.
Wait, I was gonna say, are you gonna make that a motion then to approve the RFP for the new station 70?
I will be in here, yes, but I want to say one more thing to trustee Baldwin, because I agree with trustee Baldwin on this. We definitely cannot forget about anything that was in those facility studies. But we also have to be realistic as a board that there's a lot of things that we have put on this staff in the past, a very long laundry list of all kinds of projects. Many of that are still out there to get completed. I mean, things take time, right? Sometimes of playground equipment that takes 2 years to get installed, but you never think it will. But anyway, my point here is we can't ask the staff to work with a consultant to work on possibly a new station and remodel Village Hall and remodel Public Works and remodel Station 60 all at the same time, because we're gonna stretch them way too thin and then nothing's gonna be done at a quality work level. And so to me, I see a sequence here where you're going to hopefully, if it's all what I think is best for the community is, and we heard it from a consultant, he said public safety first. And we know Station 70 with 18-minute plus response time is not good for public safety right now at all. So we have to
Let's
address,
make a
so
motion
we
then.
address that.
We get it.
We
Let's
then
make-
also should address,
Move forward.
once you get something new built, you also look at then gives you opportunity where maybe you don't need, space wise and stuff, now you can remodel 60. Because that needs to happen too, very much so. We can look at public works, in a sequence here. I also, so.
Okay, trustee Bartline.
Okay, I just want to say, in the past, we were going to do a whole village complex.
over on, and I don't know if you guys remember that. But it was the fire station, you know, the safety building with the police and the. Road crew, everybody over there. So if you're thinking about just doing a why wouldn't you plan the whole thing and you can start with the fire station and build on, but I don't think you should just plan one thing. If you gotta do everything. Do you know what I mean? You wanna make a plan for where it's going to be, how it's gonna be, and then you could start with the fire station first. They
Okay,
did have a plan originally, but the plan was, well, I thought it was pretty crappy, because they had the fire station in the middle of all these apartments. Which I felt was not good.
okay, let's back up. First of all, on the agenda is the RFQ for the new fire station. That's what's on the agenda. I think DPW has made their point clear that they don't want to be in a massive complex. You guys want to stay here. You want, they're renovated. Station 60 isn't closing, so we have to do the renovations to Station 60. Okay, but on the agenda for tonight, so we don't get in violation of the open meeting law, let's stick with what we've got. So is there a motion to approve?
Yeah, clear to the special points there.
Maybe I'll get there.
I got one.
Well, okay. I went too far. I'm sorry, guys. I gave just a minute. All right, so.
Let Matt make the motion, he wants to make the motion.
Gosh.
Someone else wants to, that's
Trustee
fine.
Baldwin did.
Okay,
Oh, okay, whatever.
okay, so trustee Baldwin
So
made the
motion
motion
to approve the RFQ as printed and circulated.
for station, for the
Fire
new,
station / public safety building.
for the new fire station, okay.
Yes.
Second by trustee Hanchke, correct?
Yep.
Are you prepared to vote your ballot?
No.
Okay.
Also,
Oh,
one more discussion.
okay, one more
I
discussion.
just wanted to speak a little bit about what trustee Lancaster said. One of your cohorts, Mr. Majewski, is that how you say it? Yes, okay. He talked about contamination, and when you talked about what I said, I just want to clarify, I didn't say do it all, like utilities in the village, I mean, that's all important. But if I just look at health and safety, it looks like the firefighters need some attention for what they're facing in facilities, and DPW can't be eating lunch and breathing exhaust fumes in. So I feel very strongly, and I'd probably like to make another motion when I can. We have to vote first.
We have a motion and a second on the table.
Right, so I'm not suggesting, I guess that's the point I want to clarify, that we do everything, because I know we can't. We also have to figure out how we're gonna pay for this, so lots to think about.
Okay, so let's, there's a motion and a second on the table to approve the RFQ for the new fire station, public safety building. Are you prepared to vote your ballot? Since I've already pushed all the buttons. All right, vote your ballot. Let the record show the motion is carried unanimously. Very good. All right, so then the next thing on the agenda is to create a plan for facility improvements, and trustee Baldwin, I believe this is where you do.
What we'd like to do now is make a motion to ask, because I don't want to overburden staff, but to create RFPs, and we can timeline this, sorry, for Fire Station 60 and the Department of Public Works and facilities improvement for those two places.
So that doesn't necessarily mean we do all the projects at once, but it would help to have costs and to have a game plan for those projects as well.
So that was my motion.
Okay, so you gotta push the button if you're gonna do a motion.
Here, well, she motioned.
Okay, so there's a motion and then you can select.
That was her motion.
I seconded it. Oh, you seconded it, that pushes the motion button down.
She did.
What was the action?
Okay, all right.
Trustee Baldwin.
Right. Was too slow, it was too slow, okay.
Somebody told me to push my button.
I'm sorry. All right, so there's a motion and a second to direct staff to draft RFQs for renovations for Station 60. and a separate RFQ for the renovations to the
And
DPW.
we probably should put a timeline on that motion too, so I wanna be reasonable about this, to trustee Lancaster's point. What's reasonable? June meeting, July meeting, probably should do it before budget. Manager Heiser? You have something?
Yeah, if, I'm just, trying to think on my feet here a little bit,
I think. Real quick, point of order is now if we want to speak. Do you have to press something in order to line up the?
I think it'll work if they press the button, now to speak.
I think she's got a.
Discussion, put in discussion, I think maybe.
It's in discussion. Proceed.
Okay, there you go.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, all right. Well, Manager Heisers, you want to address that?
So if we give firms a month to respond to our initial RFQ. And then the board chooses one after that. If we consider RFQs after that point. I think that'd be reasonable.
So we're talking probably July.
So do we need something more definitive though, in terms of the timeline? Like, I don't want, like I said, I don't wanna put the pressure on, but this.
Or you want to hold off and come back and bring the board up to speed?
Well, it's another concern I have is if we get into budget season. We can do planning at that point, even with the numbers that SEH gave us, so we know that they're not complete, right? We know that they're not accurate to the point of actually pricing out a project, which is why we're going to RFQ for the new station. But it would be at least a starting point. If it's part of the budgetary process in the fall.
Okay, so if I were to amend the motion to say, that we charge staff with. Issuing RFQs for DPW and Station 60 before the start of our budget talks, does that sound reasonable?
Yes.
I'll amend my motion.
And I'll amend my second. Okay. And then,
Chair. Can I just ask a question? So the idea right now for a request for qualifications was so we could find a consultant that has expertise in fire stations is separate from DPW. So it seems to me like it would make sense to amend the first motion to include 60 and 70, and then we'll find a consultant that can look at both fire stations that might be specific and credentialed for fire stations, and then do an RFQ for public works, which is a different kind of animal, which might be a different consultant, might be the same one, might be a different one. Okay, I think with 60, we're gonna have them bidding on both things, but they may not know how to do the DPW.
Would I need to amend the motion to do that, or can you
I
just
I
take
would
that?
recommend maybe amending the first motion to include station 60 in that.
okay,
Oh, so that would be. Section and 7. Okay, can we do that?
60 and 70 together on the first motion and DPW on the second.
well, the first and second were Baldwin and Bartline. So,
This one. The previous.
I'll tell you what, let's look for all those motions and start clean. Can we start clean? How do I push the button so we start clean here?
But then we probably have to go back to a previous agenda item because the fire station is, if you're going to. That's where, if you're going to change stuff, technically we need to go back to the original agenda item, back to point one, and start over again too. Because we moved on to a second agenda item.
Because we want to add 60 to the first
Now,
agenda.
now
item.
there are questions before we do that, I guess, so that I have for staff for us to think about here, where it may still make sense to. And again, we definitely need to do something with 60 for sure, so I'm not, I didn't even think this out of context at all. But as you work with the first firm for 70. I think we're gonna, staff can learn some things from that firm, and it may just be natural to continue working with that firm. And is there also a difference in firms where one might be an expert in new construction and doesn't like doing remodeling projects versus a different firm likes doing remodeling projects. And so I do not believe it would be a good idea to tie 60 and 70 together because it is a completely different type of project. I mean, I know several contractors in home construction, for example. They build new homes, they won't touch remodeling jobs, they hate them, versus there's contractors, that's all they do is remodeling, they don't build new construction, so we just have to be careful here of,
So we're at design.
right, but even design firms, is there a different, I don't know, that's why. Is there a design firm that likes to design new construction, and they don't do remodel, I don't know. I don't wanna preclude somebody of just getting the best for design and new station is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, personally, God, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I actually agree with trustee Lancaster. Mark this data, but I would prefer to keep the three items separate. I would prefer to have renovations for station 60 as its own RFQ. Because technically, I think we have the money in the budget right now to start those renovations for 60. I think we, you don't want to chew gum and bubble gum and skip at the same time. We can start that stuff with station 60 probably this year yet. And the development for station 70, the new station 70, it's going to take more time for us to sit together as a board to hit those project timelines, to make those decisions. We'll have more meetings or we'll need to do those things. So I would prefer to keep the three items separate. I would prefer to keep 60, it's standalone, 70, it's standalone, and the DPW is standalone for a few. Trustee Hanchke.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I would say, it's a point well taken, from Chad, that we shouldn't tie the DPW station 60 together, because it might disqualify firms that might have expertise in either one. But if board members have a concern about the pace, right, my memo talks about the fact that's one of the variables that's facing the board. If the board is concerned about the pace, for the new fire station, the construction of the new fire station, pursuing that one individually first makes the most sense. And station 70 does bubble to the top because of the response time issue.
But we can still do the RFQ for station 60 at the same time and start looking at those things as well. We don't have to wait 2 years to do an RFQ for station 60. Or the DPW. We can get those RFQs out now and start looking at what we can do now for those facilities. Trustee Hanchke.
Thank you. So I guess number one, the RFQ for 70 or 60 or DPW is not even on the agenda, so I don't think technically we can even make a motion on that. Because item number 5B says create plan for facility improvements. So that's point of order number one. Number two is when I toured myself, when I got back from vacation with the staff, it seems as though, and listening to the consultant, there are things that we can do piecemeal to improve 60. We could put the concrete in front of the truck bays, and we could redo the parking lot as one separate item, and we can do some of the other upgrades as a separate item. We don't necessarily have to do everything all at once, and I think this is where I think I would ask staff to put those items into the budget process. I don't think we need to go out for RFQ, or if you want to go out for RFQ to get costs, great. So you can put it in your capital budget plan or facility improvement at budget time. But the fire station is a separate situation because it is out of budget, and the funding for it won't necessarily come out of, it's coming out of a different pocket, right? So DPW upgrades, that in itself, I think when I toured with you guys, yes, there's some things we can make those adjustments, and that's important. We should probably have staff put together a plan saying, hey, let's first deal with the employees break room, okay? Get that plan, go get it quoted, get it to us, we can pay for that, that's not a big deal. I don't know if, because what we did today was just, it's not even RFQ, so the qualification, right? So, I mean, we're a ways away according to the plan to get to RFQs for the fire station, so I just want to temper everybody and say, you know, we have already processes in place for some of this stuff already. I don't think you need us to direct it, you guys got the facility study. Take the stuff that you think that we can pay for this year, whether it's with grants or, you know, general fund, the stuff that's important, like, I don't know how you would, like your top items, like safety items, let's get those items before the board, get quotes for them, bring it to the board, and we can pass them for needed. I don't think we necessarily need to hold up everything to get every item that's on the facilities list taken care of. I don't know if you agree with me or not, but I think you can do those kind of things. But when it comes to the fire station, I think that is step number one and phase number one. Because, and I think we also have to address the sheriff's department, and that ties into DPW. Because if we can get that fire station built, now we can say, okay, maybe 70 can be used for the sheriff's department. Right, we can take those vehicles that are taking up space here at the base. And bring them over to station 70 or the old station 70. And we can add some walls and put in some investigation rooms. I mean, we can get creative, we can use our own spaces. It's just, I think the first step is do the safety stuff for DPW and get that going right away, get this station 70 replacement for a new fire station and do that in itself. But let's not try to lump everything all at once, because I think what's gonna happen is you're gonna sacrifice better for best. And I think that's what I'm feeling, and I've been a project manager, and I'm telling you, you will spend way more time trying to get better best instead of doing what you do really good now to get us into a better place, because there's a lot of stuff.
Trustee Lancaster is waiting patiently.
Thank you, Madam President. So what I would prefer to see as well here, and would ask staff, I guess, if we're looking back at the agenda item here as far as planning for facilities. Because I do also think there's some things we can do within current budgets as we come into the budget cycle. For example, Station 60, making sure that getting that parking lot repainted and all fixed gets in the budget for this fall. I do think there's also, as we look at spending, if you look at spending money, we need to also make sure we're working with our community partners such as the Village of Sherwood. We don't expect them to contribute anything for the new Station 70, as that's located squarely in Harrison, even though our response time is second due, has also helped them as well. But Station 60 sits squarely in the Village of Sherwood, so we need to figure out how we partner with them and just how it all looks. So that kind of stuff can start probably taking place sooner or later. The other thing too, where there has to be an order to some of this is, and I'm not an architect, you know, when you get the architects and designers looking at some of this, but one example, when you look at space, we know the lot for Station 60 space wise is challenged. You can add on the building, but only to a point. Right? You get this new Station 70 built, let's just say here, and now you have a proper size meeting room for everybody to meet. Maybe part of the meeting room at 60 gets remodeled into the proper bathroom and shower facilities as needed. But you certainly can't go do that now until you have a proper meeting space. So that's why there's sequencing. But also, I agree, the DPW needs a break room. And I've been in the utilities building. In the office part of that, it definitely seems like there's some extra space in that building. And I would encourage staff to think outside the box a little bit. And the election equipment and all that's stored, for example, can that all be stored in the utilities building? In the office space that's not being used right now and sitting there empty. And now perhaps proposal comes forward to remodel that storage area into an employee break room, for example, and that's something we could easily budget for.
Now we're really traveling far away from the agenda.
Well, it's a plan for facilities is what it says, I'm playing plan for facilities is what I'm saying here, I'm not making a motion, but we're talking a plan for facilities. This is the kinds of things that I think staff needs to look at and think outside the box of how we can solve some of these issues. And then we'll solve them sooner or later. I also wonder, and then I don't think that more helps out summertime, but we build a shed, for example, out at the yard waste site that alleviates summertime around here, that now during the summertime, winter equipment can be stored there, and now that gives a lot more working room around this building during the summertime. I realize it doesn't help when things, in wintertime, when things are cold and need to get in heat. But then plus, because you think about it, if you're gonna start remodeling around here, where's Jeff gonna put all his equipment while construction takes place? So there needs to be some thought, and I would encourage staff to bring some of those kind of things.
All right, so the basic consensus is the initial motion we made for the RFQ for Station 70 stands. We don't need to modify or to make any changes to it. As far as the RFQs for the other two, we could put those on a future agenda and have discussion at that time for an RFQ for the Station 60 and for the detective. So
But again, is that really
I'm still talking and you're pushing button.
necessary because this, like we just discussed, can we just have that brought?
But if someone wants to put it on a future agenda item, so we are not in violation of the open meeting law, we can do that. So
I will rescind my prior motion and amend the motion then to say that I would like to put RFQs for DPW and Fire Station 60, and they can be separate, onto a future agenda. As a future agenda item.
is there a second? Second. Okay, so motion by Julie, second by Darlene.
We gotta ship out.
First buttons for motions.
Can't push mine first. Well, you start with that after.
We don't need motion, I guess, when we get there, sorry, Scott. When we get to future agenda item, you guys just bring that up and you guys can first and second that one.
All right, well, then we're right there. We're right there.
So,
So we're moving on to future agenda items. So you would like to add that as a future agenda item?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we don't need a motion and a second, we can just put it on. We can put that on a future agenda item then.
Can I ask the ladies if instead of doing the RFP that we ask staff to come up with a plan to address the facilities plan, would that be better? Cause I don't think we need motions or whatever to get an RFQ or RFP. I think you can get those at any time, right?
No,
I mean,
The request-
if it's remodeling, if it's fixing or upgrading. Right, I mean, we're not budgeting, I mean, we could put it in the budget, that'd be part of the budget process, right? Unless we're actually gonna go outside of the budget, right? And
Well, we are planning inside the budget, so we would.
yes. So you need
Yes.
approval.
Direction to do.
And you can also use ARPA funds for some of these projects at
I thought
DPW.
some up funds.
The ARPA funds are also.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, anyway, so okay, so we're putting that on as future agenda item. Trustee Lancaster,
for future agenda item, well,
okay,
for the April 30th meeting, wanna make sure we have a closed session scheduled for Wisconsin statute 19.851C for the village board to be considering employment, promotion, compensation, performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercise their responsibility, improve procedurally.
okay,
For April 30th.
okay. Anything else to add to the agenda for next Tuesday?
So I need a second on that.
I'll second
Second? So, but we don't need to vote on it, we'll just add it to the agenda. Julie,
The other item I would like to add to future agendas is that, as we go through this process of all of this renovation and building, I would like to make sure that we have a series of public information meetings so that our constituents, our residents are informed about what's going on and what the costs are involved with this, and that we just are, I mean, everybody talks about transparency, and I think that that's really, really important. I'm just gonna make this comment, and I've heard, I believe in the last meeting, we're not gonna have to raise taxes, we're not gonna have to borrow, we're just gonna be able to pay the money from the revenue sharing or the impact fees and the cash surplus that we have, but I wanna make sure that that's actual fact and not just that we sell it this way and then we wind up borrowing money to raise the taxes. So I just, long story, but I wanna make sure that we have public information meetings, so let's put that on the agenda.
And Darren, can I just get that turn? Gotcha. So
But I would also like it also just on the website. Not everybody can come to these
Right.
meetings. I would like all the information on the website, just to be fair to everybody.
Any other future agenda items? Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll
I'll second.
Ballot.
Gotta put some voting there.
It's not, there we go, there we go. All right. We are adjourned.